Hello everybody. Sorry, I've been pretty busy, so I hope you understand. I've been moving, so things have been a little crazy, but please feel free to send me emails, do whatever you have to do. So I'm hoping that now that I'm a little bit closer to the computer that you all will be able to hear me better. I'll send you an accompanying um, document that basically includes these couple things. But basically, one of the things I wanted to do today was there's a general debate truths lecture that's pretty short. It's probably only a few minutes, and there's a general speaker position roles. And what I'd like you to do with this is just try to pick a few of these things and try to integrate it into your debate. If you try to do all of them, you're going to forget. But if you just pick a few, um, that will probably help you a lot. I promise you, this is one of the best lectures I do, so feel free to take notes, do whatever you have to do, but I'll be sending along something with this. So just to start off, debate truths. Sun Tzu was a strategist in China, and he basically said every battle is won before it is fought. What I want you to use with that is basically when you're negative, try to think of what would my ideal 2NR be, and then figure out what things you have to do in order to make that work, working backwards. So that's what I would suggest you do, as well as when you're affirmative, right? Where do you want to be in your 2AR, and think about, well, okay, well, what do I have to have in the 1AR? What do I have to have in the 2AC and 1AC? So working backwards is a much smarter way to figure out where you want to go than working forwards. So some things to think about. Debate truth number one. Assume your judges are dumber than you think. Now that doesn't mean that you talk to your judge like he or she is an idiot, right? You shouldn't be like, oh, you're so stupid, you just don't understand what I'm saying. On the other end of things, right, you shouldn't assume your judges are geniuses, right? If you're using all these acronyms, especially those that are specific to the topic, maybe they haven't heard them yet. A big part of winning debate rounds isn't necessarily just winning on the flow. It's adapting to your judges and being able to change to meet what they need. So you need to walk that middle ground in between talking to your judge like he or she is a complete idiot versus explaining yourself. Usually you should side with explaining more. If you explain more of what your argument is, get in deeper, that's a much better place to be than under-explaining, especially when you're doing things like explaining acronyms, right? If you say the OECD Council on the AQW, it's like, what does that mean, right? So you need to elaborate. Number two, judges hate to make decisions. Now, the analogy that I like to use is I like to say as if it was like prom. Now, some of you, in fact, all of you, aren't that close to prom, but that's okay. You get the analogy. What I mean by that is that if you are interested in asking a boy or a girl to prom, you can't ask multiple people and then bring multiple people to prom. You can't do it, especially if you're trying to get a smooch or a hug at the end of the night, or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, right? You can't take 5 people to prom. Now, what I mean by that is that when you're affirmative in your final speeches, you can't go for 7 arguments. In the same way, when you're negative, you can't go for 3 disadvantages and a counterplan and case arguments and T. That's crazy. That's like taking 5 prom dates. Now, if you think that men or women are interested in being a second choice or a third choice or a fourth choice, then you are 100% wrong. So think about it this way. You can ask a lot of people to prom. You can keep your options open, right? So that could be your 1AC or your 2AC or your 1NC or your 2NC. But once you get into the 2NR or the 2AR, you need to make a choice and say, I'm going to go with Betsy to prom, or I'm going to go with Steve to the prom, right? You have to make a choice, and that's really important. Otherwise, your judge has to choose in between your many prom dates, and that's just annoying. Judges hate that. Number 3, all judges know dropped arguments are true. They are beyond a doubt true. We train judges at the CDL to know this fact, so that's just true. You may need to remind your judge, my opponent has dropped this argument, and here's why it's true, and here's why it matters. Here's why you should care. But if the other team drops that the sky is lime green? Well, for the rest of the debate round, the sky is lime green. So it's important to take advantage of arguments that are dropped and to use them strategically. Number 4, whoever spends more time on an argument than their opponent will usually win it. This is a good rule because if your opponent drops an argument, per se, and you want to really blow it up, make it huge, you should spend a lot of time on it and explain the importance of it, because you will certainly win it. Unless you're not the strongest debater, which that's okay, we're all growing, odds are very good that if you spend a minute on an argument, and your opponent spends 15 seconds, unless you're doing something really wrong, you probably are winning that argument. You probably have it correct. You are probably winning that argument and therefore can use it strategically in the debate round. So that being said, you also need to adapt, right? One thing that I like to encourage other people to do, and I'll tell you to do in the future, is in your 2AC, or in preparation for the block, write down how long did somebody spend on each argument in the 2AC. Or in preparation for your 1AR, how much time did the block spend on particular arguments? The more time they spend on a particular argument means that they're very interested in that argument, and you need to adjust accordingly and try to equalize your time on that particular argument. Otherwise, you're going to get thrashed, right? So, and the fifth and last thing that I wanted to suggest to you here is choice making, choice making, choice making, choice making, choice making. Making choices is crucial to winning debates, and I have a few analogies here. One is, in debate, you must kill your darlings. That's by William Faulkner. No, it's by me, because I stole it. Ha 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 ha. But William Faulkner is a famous author, and he basically says in the process of writing, you need to be able to destroy the thing that you love the most sometimes, right? So if you're very, very into the Russia politics dissad, and your opponent has spent a lot of time on that and less time on something else, then you need to just suck it up and say, I don't need to go for the Russia politics dissad all the time. I can go for something else, right? So making a choice and being willing to drop arguments is really crucial. This is very counterintuitive. It's a bit confusing to debaters because everybody tells you, go for every single argument, don't drop anything. But there's a way to do this, and the way to drop arguments and still respond is to explain why the argument that you are going for more matters more in the debate round than the argument that you dropped. If you don't drop any arguments and you spend an equal amount of time on all arguments, then you will inevitably lose. And the other analogy that I'd like to bring to you is like Star Wars, like lightsabers. I don't know if you all are familiar with this at all, but one of the things that I've always thought about is they're all fighting like right, and they're fighting each other. What if one of the Jedi people just turned off a lightsaber, wait till it passed the other person's lightsaber, and turned it on, and then just cut the person in half? That would be pretty simple, right? That's what choice making does for you. Instead of just clashing, they said this, we're saying this, they said this, we're saying this, they said this, we're saying this, right? In final rebuttal speeches, is you just say, look, we're not going to deal with all of that over here. The only important thing is the number 3 argument on the disadvantage, and they drop that link turn, which means that they don't get their disadvantage, which means that we're winning the direction of the link, and that means the disadvantage goes away and case outweighs the disadvantage. It's ours, right? That would be like a choice. That would be turning off your lightsaber and turning it on in order to cut the person in half. Now this ran a little longer than I had planned, but please feel free to send me questions or other things like that. I'll be also sending, should be sometime today, I think I'm going to do it, is the longer, probably more like 30-minute speech or general lecture on speaker roles. But this is just sort of introduction. I hope you liked it, and feel free to send comments. Thank you.